Hey everybody, welcome. For those of you who aren't familiar with my review videos, I'm generally more of a war gamer and more of a solitaire solo player. But I'm also a bleeding heart, pathetic, unashamed browncoat. So I suppose it was inevitable that I would end up with the game that I'm going to be sharing with you today. And today what we're going to be having a look at is Firefly, the game. It's published by Gale Force 9. It's designed by Dill, John Kovaleski, and Sweigart. It's a game for 1 to 4 players. You will assume the role of the captain of one of your own Firefly class transports, and you'll be going from job to job, earning money, executing acts of thrilling heroics, in Joss Whedon's verse that we've all grown to love so much. We're also going to be taking a really brief look at some of the expansions that you can get for it. So without any further delay, let's get to the table and have a look at Firefly, the game. The base game of Firefly comes with a 30 by 20 board depicting Joss Whedon's verse. It includes a Reaver ship, an Alliance cruiser, several decks of cards, contact decks from which you'll be getting jobs that you can perform to earn money, a misbehave deck which has various tests that you'll have to do over the course of doing jobs and earning money, supply decks based at planets. These are where you can buy equipment, fuel, and spare parts for your ship. 4 different Firefly class vessels for up to 4 players, along with their player boards. There's a deck of cards that contain different captains that you can select from, each with different skills and strengths for your Firefly ship, and decks of nav cards. You'll be using these when navigating your way through the verse, and money. Blue Sun is the first large expansion for Firefly the game, and it includes an extension for the board, which gives you additional space to play around in, 2 additional Reaver ships, additional story cards, and a new setup card, along with additional job contacts, an additional supply planet, and a brand new nav deck to navigate your way through the red bordered rim space. The second large expansion is Kalidasa, and it includes yet another board expansion. The Alliance operative comes into play, and you get the operative's Corvette. There is a board overlay for your base game board to give a home to one of your new contacts. You receive 2 new contacts, Higgins, Fanti, and Mingo, and a new supply planet on Beaumont. And of course, additional setup and story cards for the game. Other notable expansions include Pirates and Bounty Hunters. It includes 2 new types of ships that players can use for their game. A new element, bounty hunting. That's right, you get to hunt down other players' crew members and wanted fugitives on supply planets for monetary rewards. And new story cards and a new setup card to encourage player-on-player violence. For those of you who prefer a more competitive game with your friends, Pirates and Bounty Hunters would be a must-have. There are also booster ships, which can be purchased separately, that have different strengths, capabilities, and limitations that you can purchase to play with. And of course, there are booster packs of cards that you can purchase that contain new jobs, new equipment, even new skippers for your ships. I should make note too, all of the expansions of this game come with additional cards for your base game that include new jobs, new equipment, new crew members that you can hire. Yep. Now, as you can see, depending on how far you want to go with this game, boy, it is an unashamed table hog. This is an 8-foot long conference table. I have it laid out on, and as you can see, there is just stuff everywhere. If you get both of the major expansions for the game board itself is over 4 feet long. So yeah, but I'll tell you what, it looks magnificent set up on your table. For the purposes of this review, we're mainly going to be focusing on the base game. That should give you a good taste of what this game is all about. Miranda. Players will select their ship, choose a captain for their ship among a variety of different characters. They each have different skills and abilities. These symbols on the left, which we'll talk about later, are different skill points that each character has, and down in this text area they will usually have some sort of special ability unique to that character. Each player takes a standard drive core for their ship. This number up here in the circle denotes how many spaces the ship can move during a full burn. And then, depending on the setup instructions, players are given an amount of money that they have to spend initially, and fuel and spare parts that they place in their cargo hold. Once players have finished setting the game up, selecting their ships, all that good stuff, players will then select one of the story cards that comes with the game. The story card outlines what you're trying to do. It gives you a little bit of flavor text here and spells out the goals that each player is expected to accomplish. The first one to do so is the winner of the game. The goals on a story card will be attainable by different means. They usually may have you committing certain acts of mischief in a certain location, may have you completing a certain number of jobs and becoming solid with a specific contact, or require you to possess or pay out a certain amount of money. Okay, so we're all set up. We've got our ship, we've got our captain, we've got our money, we've got our story card, and we've got this list of goals that we're going to try and achieve before anybody else. How do we go about doing that? Well, once you've determined your starting location, there are 4 possible actions that a player can take on any given turn, but they're only allowed to take 2 of them. Those different actions are fly, buy, work, and deal. So let's take a walk through those and see what that's all about. Well, we need to start earning money. But before we can start earning money, we need to start being able to do jobs for our different contacts. But before we can start doing jobs, we need to get equipment and crew that'll make it easier for us to complete these jobs. And since we're starting out here on Persephone, which is a supply planet, let's start out with a buy action. Let's go shopping for some crew and some equipment that can help us in our task. Every supply planet already will have a discard pile started. And whether you're shopping for goodies on a supply planet or considering jobs from a contact, the rule is you can consider up to 3 but take only 2, and you have a maximum hand size of 3 in the game. So let's take a look at what's in the discard pile first. Let's see, we've got some equipment here, scan-proof shades. It gives us the Fancy Duds trait, plus it gives us an extra point in diplomacy, and it gives you a little flavor text as to what the scan-proof shades will do for you. We could purchase that for 1,000. We've got some crew here we can purchase, more equipment. Well, let's see. We need some crew, and we need some equipment. Let's go ahead and take Fancy Duds to consider, and we'll toss these 2 out. So we're considering this one. We can consider up to 3, so then we can draw 2 more face down from the face down pile here. Here we go, Shepherd Book. He also gives us the Fake ID trait, an additional point in diplomacy, and another gun combat skill. And a ship upgrade. Okay. I think we're going to go ahead and take the scan-proof shades with the Fancy Duds trait, and we need crew, so we're going to go ahead and take Shepherd Book, and then the ship upgrade, we're going to go ahead, since we can only take 2, and place it in Persephone's discard pile. We now pay out the money to purchase the crew and equipment we just bought, $1,000. So we've got Shepherd Book, our new crew member, and we've got our scan-proof shades with the Fancy Duds trait and an additional point of diplomacy. For now, we'll go ahead and equip that equipment with Shepherd Book. Most characters can only be equipped with 1 piece of equipment. Now, had we opted instead to go ahead and purchase the ship upgrade, ship upgrades go in one of the available 3 slots on your ship. If those slots are full with other upgrades, you would have to discard one in order to add the new upgrade that you just purchased. Persephone also happens to be where we'll find one of our possible job contacts, Badger. So let's walk through a deal action and check out Badger and see what kind of work he's got that we might be able to do. Here's Badger, and as you can see, job contacts don't start out with a discard pile. So we can consider up to 3 jobs, but we can only accept 2. And of course, once there is a discard pile started, you could start by checking out what's in the discard pile and then move on to the face down pile if necessary. So we've got 3 jobs from Badger. Let's have a look and consider them. So when you're dealing with a contact, you're considering possible jobs that you might want to take on to help earn you some money. And there's 2 general categories. There is legal and illegal jobs. Illegal jobs will tend to pay a little bit more because they require you to misbehave and generally entail a little bit more risk. Jobs could have specific needs that you must meet before you're allowed to work that particular job. For example, this transport job here requires at least 1 combat skill and 1 tech skill. We've got an illegal job that requires us to fly to a certain location and do some misbehaving, and then pass a test to see if we're going to suffer any kind of penalties for our illegal acts. There are also illegal jobs that might be immoral. A quick note about immoral jobs. If you have captain or crew that are moral, if you successfully complete an immoral job, all moral crew members will receive a disgruntled token. Now, if a crew member receives 2 disgruntled tokens, they will leave your ship immediately. Disgruntled captains, when they receive their second disgruntled token, all crew members will be fired. So keep that in mind when taking on immoral but high-paying jobs. So we're considering jobs from Badger. Well, let's go ahead and accept this losing patience with patience job. It's going to pay us $3,000 if we manage to complete it successfully. And we'll go ahead and reject these other 2. And we'll start a discard pile for Badger. Jobs that you have accepted but not started working on yet go face down into your hand. Remember, you can have up to 3 cards in your hand. So that's a deal action. Okay, so that would have covered the normal 2 actions a player could take in a turn. What are some of the other couple actions a player could take? Well, there's fly. So let's have a look at the fly action. Let's say we want to fly from Persephone over here to Athens, where Patience is. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces that we have to travel. Now, if we want, in a fly action, we could simply mosey 1 space. That means we're going nice and slow, we're being nice and careful, and we don't have to draw a nav card. It's much safer to travel that way, but as you can see, it's also much slower. Or, if we want to try and fly those 5 spaces all in 1 turn, we could do a full burn. And when you do a full burn, you can fly up to the maximum amount of spaces that your drive core will allow you. So to do a full burn, you have to spend a fuel token. Moving at full burn through the verse is pretty risky. You're moving a lot faster, you're not being as careful. So, for each space that you move, you're going to have to draw a nav card from the appropriate nav deck. Now, these blue bordered spaces are alliance space. The yellow bordered spaces are border space. So, for each space we move, we draw a nav card. The big black, keep flying. No problem. We draw another, big black, keep flying, no problem. And as you move through the nav deck, you'll find different situations will come up here. For example, here's a freighter convoy, and it gives you 2 options. You can purchase fuel and parts if you've got the money, or you can just keep flying and ignore it. Or you can come to a stop and try to rob the freighter. We'll keep flying. You also risk running into the Alliance cruiser. Sometimes a card will simply tell you to move an Alliance cruiser 1 space. Other times, let's see. Other times you also run the risk of having the Alliance cruiser come all the way to you. Once the Alliance cruiser is in your same space, you must resolve the Alliance cruiser contact. You may have to pay fines if you have any warrants out on you. You can earn warrants by trying to attempt to do bad things and failing. Contraband and fugitives are seized. And you also have to check to see if any of your crew members who may have wanted by the law symbols on them, check to see if the Alliance arrests them. And when full burning into a border space, you would draw from the border space deck and it acts the same way. Keep flying, allows you to keep going with no problems. There may be mechanical breakdowns, tests you have to pass. The reaver cutter could catch up with you, and there's a separate procedure for that. Now, whenever the reavers catch up with you, like many of the nav cards, you have two options here. You can either, if you begin your turn in the same space as the reaver cutter, you can do combat with the reavers, but it usually doesn't work out too well with you, as you'll have to kill one of your crew. Or, if you have the requirements, you can just evade the reaver, and when you evade, you simply move one space away. Now let's talk about the work action. And basically, a work action is any time you perform a task that is related to an active job that you are working. Let's take a closer look at that. So at the end of my previous turn, I made it over here to Athens in the Georgia system, where Patience is. Now I've got a couple of jobs here in my hand that I haven't made active yet. I haven't started working them yet. I'm going to go ahead and start an active job for Badger. So to work this job for Badger, I will now take a work action and then follow the instructions on the job card, in which case we see here we have to misbehave twice to get paid. Let's have a look at the misbehave deck. Illegal, immoral, and otherwise nefarious work actions will usually involve you having to misbehave one or more times. And to do that, we go to the misbehave deck. And for example, our job we're working for Badger requires us to misbehave successfully twice. And the misbehave cards, they will have tests that you have to pass in order to succeed on a misbehave attempt. So, for example, on this card, the first option would be to use your negotiation skill in combination with a dice roll and attempt to succeed that way. Other times, there will be a second option which will allow you to either pass or botch the attempt without killing a crew member or getting a warrant. And there's also an ace in the hole at the bottom of many of the cards. Let's have a look at how the top option works first. For example, you are required to pass with a roll of 8 or better on negotiation skill. Here's how that works. We've got our crew assigned to the misbehave attempt, and they're all equipped. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negotiation skill points. We need 8 or better, which means we now need to roll a 3 or better in order to pass this test. And we do. So that's basically passing a dice test on a misbehave card. We've now successfully misbehaved once. Now sometimes the misbehave cards will have an ace in the hole at the bottom. For example, this one states that if you have a fake ID, you can automatically proceed and succeed on this misbehave attempt. And wouldn't you know it, Shepherd Book has a fake ID. Here's our next misbehave card. We again have two options. We can try to fight our way out of this with combat skill. Same deal. You add together the combat skills that your crew and equipment possess, and anytime a combat skill says kosherized rules, that's a restriction. That means you're not allowed to count the skill points off of equipment. You have to go by what's on your crew cards only. So we could pass the card that way, or we could try to negotiate our way out of the problem. Same thing, you're adding together your negotiation skills and rolling, attempting to beat the number set. And negotiation often involves bribes. And for $100 each, you can add one positive modifier to your dice roll. So I could pay $500 to the bank as a bribe and get a +5 on my die roll. In this case, if you fail in your negotiation attempt, you'd get a warrant issued. Now, we have the sniper rifle equipped, so we passed with the ace in the hole. So during our work action, we've successfully misbehaved twice for our job with Badger on Athens in the Georgia system. So let's go ahead and finish resolving this job. We've earned $3,000 for completing the job. After you get paid for the job, you have to decide whether or not you want to pay your crew who participated in the job. So you would pay them their actual purchase price. So we'd have to pay our crew $900. Now, you have the option of maybe paying the $300 for Yolanda, the $300 for Jane, and you can not pay Kaylee if you want. Anytime you fail to pay a crew member for a job completed, they'll become disgruntled. Having successfully completed our job for Badger, we become solid with him. We have a good reputation with Badger, and what that means is now we can travel to where Badger is and sell contraband or cargo to him for the prices listed, and usually a contact will also have an additional bonus that you receive for being solid with them. For example, Badger, if you have a warrant, you could pay $1,000 and he can clear all warrants for you. Other types of work actions, aside from misbehaving, include loading or unloading passengers and cargo, contraband or fugitives in relation to pickup and delivery jobs. Anytime you get a warrant issued in the process of working a job for a contact, you are no longer solid with that contact, and you lose any benefit you may have gained from having a solid reputation with them. Warrants are expensive things to get rid of. Anytime you manage to achieve one of the goals spelled out on your game's story card, receive a goal token. And once you've received a goal token for each goal, you're the winner of the game if you're the first one finished. Now, for those of you who wish to play this game solo, there is a single solo story card. There are 3 different goals, but you'll only be going for one of them in your game. You select one, and there's a 20-turn time limit to achieve whichever goal you've selected. Okay, Firefly, the game. I gotta tell you, I spent quite a bit of time with this game, and I had a really good time with it, but I'm going to give it a very conditional thumbs up recommendation. It's definitely got its good points, but it's got some things that I thought were a bit disappointing as well. Let's start with the good stuff. Gale Force 9 gets an absolute A for effort here. Just beautiful components, dripping with theme. If you are a fan of the Firefly television show and the Serenity movie, this game does a really good job of putting you there. You really feel like you're living in an episode of Firefly. All the characters, all the lingo, the ships, the beautiful map. I love the map of the verse. Just really, really well done and thematic. If you are a person who has a game group, that is into Firefly, this is an outstanding game. It is very goal-oriented. It is very challenging when played with other players. It's going to make for a fun evening of gaming, I think. Start with one of the smaller story cards. The directions recommend you start with the King of All Londinium story card. I would not recommend that. It's very long, and if you're just getting familiar with the game, you're going to want something much shorter. But still, outstanding game. Tons of supply planets, equipment, characters, crew to choose from, ship modifications. Just a great job. So yeah, if you're playing this game multiplayer for an evening of gaming, I'm going to give this an enthusiastic thumbs up recommendation. Another good thing, I'm a huge fan of these misbehave cards. I'm kind of curious, in all the expansions for this game, why there weren't more cards made for the misbehave deck, because they are just awesome. I love turning these cards up, working out the challenges. It feels just like the kind of antics you would be up to in your rough and tumble, living on the raggedy edge world of Joss Whedon's verse. So yeah, for multiplayer, I can't recommend this game highly enough. But this game is marketed as a 1 to 4 player game, and being mostly a solo player myself, I'm a little bit more lukewarm on it, to be honest. If you are a solo player, if you're intending to spend time playing this game alone, I'm gonna recommend the base game, and perhaps one of the little card booster expansions like Break and Atmo. It gives you more variety in terms of equipment, jobs, etc. But yeah, probably the base game is going to do you if you're a solo player. Here's my problem from the solo aspect. Again, it's a very goal-oriented, finite, challenging game that puts you in an episode of Firefly. It's like playing out an episode of the show. But if what you're looking for is a more role-playing, sandbox, expansive, play-out-a-career type of a game, then I would suggest that you move on and look for something else. This will not be the game for you. I was a little disappointed that more wasn't done for the solo player. There's a solo story card, just one, and it's obvious after having played it, it's really intended more to get you familiar with the mechanics and learn the game, as opposed to an actual expansive solo adventure. It's fun, but it's pretty easy to beat. If you do end up getting this game for solo play, I'm telling you, go to Board Game Geek, go to the files section, find Jude's solo house rules. It's one page, print them up. It's her solo rules for the game, and then print up Jude's solo story card, Beholden to Niska. Much better than the solo story card that comes with the game. Much more involved, much more challenging. It gives you more of an expansive experience. Gale Force 9 should have written her a big check for this. So get over there, download these for solo play, and be sure to tip Judy heavily with Keep Gold while you're there. I'm surprised and disappointed that Gale Force 9 didn't consider expanding this for solo play more. You have this big gorgeous map with a lot of empty planets. This game is just begging for more of a living economy. As it is, you can only earn money through jobs. You have to get jobs. You can't say, there's no living economy. You can't just fly to a planet, purchase cargo low, and fly to another planet where a particular commodity is in demand and sell high. In addition, you've got generic cargo. You've got generic contraband. It seems like the logical next step that, and I know all of you Merchants of Venus fans out there are probably going to nod your head in agreement. We need different commodities, you know, foodstuffs, tools, parts, narcotics, weapons, different commodities to buy low and sell high throughout the verse, so that we have options to make money and live a life in Joss Whedon's verse outside of working specific jobs for contacts. You will get opportunities via the nav decks occasionally to pick up cargo from a salvage operation, etc. But really not enough of a living economy. Also, some good, solid, professionally developed rules for non-player ships. Just seems this game is begging for it. I don't know if Gale Force 9 has plans for future expansions for this game. As of right now, it seems like they're throwing all their resources behind their Star Trek license that they just picked up. But yeah, the expansions, if you're going solo on this game, unless you're really into Firefly, I probably wouldn't bother. Pirates and Bounty Hunters, it gives you a couple of different ships, gives you the Walden, it gives you Jubal Early's Interceptor, but this expansion really is meant for multiplayer games, to do crew-on-crew combat with each other, do bounty hunting, etc. Really, I'm holding it upside down. really not meant for solo players. Blue Sun and Kalidasa, good expansions. They expand the verse quite a bit with the board extensions, more supply planets, more contacts for jobs. But aside from making it more dangerous to travel throughout the verse, you're going to have increased possibility of being attacked by Reavers, being hassled by the Alliance, being tripped up by the Alliance operative. Other than being more dangerous to travel around through the verse, there really isn't a whole lot of actual gameplay meat added to the base set with these expansions. It's more jobs, more equipment. It's nice, but for a solo player, not really necessary. The base game is plenty. So, beautiful game with some real shortcomings for the solo player. But if you have a game group, if you've got at least 2 or 3 people that want to play this game with you, and by the way, I don't think you need to be a Firefly fan to enjoy this game. It's actually quite a good adventure game, but it is not a pick-up and delivery game. So yeah, if you've got a game group, I highly recommend, especially if you're Firefly fans. If you're looking for solo play, I'd go with the base game, give it a shot. If you like it, you might consider the expansions, but you know, don't go in whole hog. But this game will be hitting my table again. Boy, though, I just sure wish they would take that next step and really give me a living, breathing universe to play in. Give me a career. Let me live in that universe. I don't want to play an episode. I want to live there. All right, everybody. So that's going to be it for Firefly the game. I hope you'll head over to my YouTube channel. Be sure to hit that subscribe button while you're there. More reviews, more playthroughs. I do giveaways quite frequently. Also, check me out on clubfantasy.com. I'm there with my friends David Lowery and Maurice Fitzgerald, game reviewers extraordinaires. They do heads ups for Kickstarters, all kinds of good stuff. And that's it. Until next time, thank you for joining me, everybody, and happy gaming.